one thing Lamont Roach had that plan is he didn't get the Mike Tyson effect. People go in already beaten or scared. He came in like, I'm focused, I'm a dog, and this is my time. And
welcome back, fight fans.
14, even a draw. The decision is a majority draw.
A shocking statement that rang through the entire Barclay Arena.
He knew it. We knew it. They knew it.
A boxing champion dodged what should have been his first defeat in the most questionable way possible. The match had hard hits and careful strategy moves, mixed with some staid bad blood between fighters. But in the end, this event will be talked about for all the bad reasons instead of the good ones. Just explain it to me that way, all right?
How do you go and get your eye wiped in the middle of a round?
What? Just as tough, enduring, and clever as he claimed he'd be. Lamont Roach's career-defining "I told you so" moment has now been written into boxing history. "I told everyone from the start that I have the talent to pay all those bills," he said, earning himself a special spot at boxing's elite table. "I instructed him to go out there and be excellent, and that's exactly what he did." There it goes, a series of left-hand punches, and now Roach is talking back to his opponent. Very few people predicted this outcome, but looking back, the warning signs were definitely there. So before we examine this uncertain boxing landscape, let's take a minute to understand exactly how Lamont Roach Jr. just stunned the entire boxing world.
Oh, it's far from over. Far from over.
I feel like because they have experience with each other, Lamont might know some things about Tank that most fighters don't know.
First, it's the most obvious factor: the education, the know-how, and the comfort level that came with this specific matchup. Both fighters having that skill level. That's probably the first time Tank has fought someone who came up with similar skills. Before Roach, Frank Martin had used previous sparring success as ammunition, but this situation was different. They'd spent time training together. He's been around Tank. He's watched Tank up close and personal. That changes everything, you know? The two had fought twice as amateurs. They'd spent lots of time together. And Roach Sr. had even coached Tank for the 2012 National Championship.
None of his personal coaches was there, couldn't make it at a time. And we had a fun ride on winning, you know what I'm saying? I like to say I helped contribute to that.
That kind of style knowledge, even though it was 10 years old, would turn out to be priceless. "Don't get greedy," he told his son. Interestingly, during the opening press conference, Tank said Sr. was shaking as a sign of nervousness. "I'm going to tell you all something. His father was up here shaking on the Watts name. He was shaking on the podium." Little did we know that was probably the most confident man on stage. When I asked your brother what 2025 would look like for No Excuse, he said your father would become Coach of the Year. I say that too, absolutely. I've been saying that man is a genius, whether he's in the ring with them or not. That matters. And Lamont is a DMV fighter himself, which means he's got that fighting spirit, you know? Thanks to that familiarity, the fear and intimidation factor that usually surrounds Gervonta Davis fights never really showed up.
It ain't intimidating. It ain't. I'm here. This one's like I said. This one.
And despite those small confidence boosters that Tank usually gets, like Frank's flinch and Ryan's weight struggles, Lamont gave him nothing. It was an unwavering self-belief that carried into the fight. Still talking back to Tank. If it became a test of endurance, he had enough determination. If Tank hit him with his best punch, if it was a battle of skills, he had enough tricks. Whatever the case may be, whatever I need to pull out of my bag of tricks to win, that's what I'm going to do. And if it got messy, he had enough fighting spirit. This arena is on their feet right now. All of which proved to be true.
I've interviewed a few different Tank opponents, but it just feels like you have a different confidence than most other people. Where do you feel like that?
With Shakur Stevenson in Tank sights, the pre-fight story turned Roach into little more than another perfectly selected, hand-picked opponent. He doesn't have a chance. The only person that could have beat Tank was Roy. I can tell people that Roach was merely seen as another routine checkbox, with the expected body shot and a victory backflip. You saw what he did to Ryan Garcia. You saw what he did to Frank Martin. That said, while the spotlight maybe hadn't been quite this bright before, Lamont had experience on big stages. I've been there. I've been on Canelo cards, Triple G headliners. I've been there, I've been through the press conferences, the media events. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot more this time, but I'm ready. And the importance of that routine trip to the Barclays for this DC powerhouse was much, much greater.
When he for me, he couldn't do nothing. And trust me, March 1st, we're gonna do the same thing. I've been here before.
With a less than perfect record and nothing to lose, we saw wolf in sheep's clothing approach the top level as an entire boxing journey rolled into one make-or-break moment for Lamont Roach. He understands that when it comes to defeating Davis, it's not just about skill. It's about perfect execution under constant pressure. I'm not sure which member of Roach's team it was, but that humble pie quote has become famous overnight. Pie be mean. That humble pie be mean. Gervonta, he pay for it. I guarantee. And if that's not echoing in Javon's ears for the next few weeks, it probably should be. We were talking in like the 12th round, I think the 12th or 11th, but like, you ain't going to win. I said, why not? What you talking about? They ain't going to give it to you. It's a dish best served cold. And with Roach referencing Tank's star behavior from the Christmas time cancellation taunts.
Next year, I'm out of it.
After our second fight.
Swerving the media workout.
Gervonta, Tank.
TB, the best ever statements. I feel like my skills are way better than like Floyd. And picking the round. I say in round. It would all come back to haunt him. Did Lamont Roach just do that? Never expected he should be taking these hits and countering and answering with his own big shots. If Tank was overconfident, it likely came from, as it often does, having that rare escape card. You can't fight the power. The one-punch knockout ability that had kept his record perfect, erasing all those shaky moments and slow starts. Mario Barrios also had a good start. That was at 140 again. But how did those fights all end, guys? Tank's toolkit is full, and he's far from one-dimensional, but it can't save you every single time. So when Lamont took some of those same punches, stayed defensively solid, and just kept coming forward, Gervonta would eventually run out of ideas as the fight ended.
I think he felt my power too. Like, I think that's what negated a lot of his shots. And once I took his best shot, I was like, oh yeah, it's time to roll.
He stood in front of him, took his best shot, he was standing in the pocket, blocking, throwing back. You know, he gained a lot of fans tonight.
Overall, it's less about what Gervonta did poorly and more about what Lamont did excellently. I think Lamont Roach had a frustrating style, you know. He's technical and he does some frustrating stuff. There it is. He timed it perfectly, counter-punching him. And the upper. After all, triangle theories are a long-forgotten concept in boxing, and anyone can run into the wrong style at the wrong time. I got a question. You got any excuses tonight? Roy, let's not ask questions like that. Let's be honest. So this might just be another of those situations. Lamont Roach had always been talented. He had always been good. And he had the right approach. The styles make fights. Roach eating some big shots and coming right back. Lamont Roach's style made that fight what it is. And what it does mean, though, is that Tank versus Shakur or Tank versus Lomachenko are completely different matchups with an entirely different set of challenges.
If I'm Tank Davis and I'm coming off a disappointment in terms of my offensive output, I'm not going straight to the best defender in the division. Let's see it again.
Would you say, Lamont, you've now shown the world the formula to how to beat Tank Davis?
Maybe not. I mean, I'm me.
In a perfectly planned and complete performance, Lamont took some of the best elements from each previous opponent and mixed them into what they already understood as a team. Which sparring partners did you use to copy Tank's style? Tank has different aspects of himself in the ring, so we used several sparring partners. We used Shaquille Daly, very quick, very twitchy. Diane Young from Philly. Jonathan Lopez, who's fighting on the card, opening up the TV portion. Most notably, like Barrios, he used his physical advantages early, working the jab and keeping his distance. Be smart with the question. Come on, stay focused right here. Like Cruz, he applied pressure in bursts, but with more method to his approach. You're standing strong right now, just not landing much in return. And where Frank started to tire late in the fight, the Reaper stayed well within his limits.
I'm not sure what kind of conditioning Lamont Roach did,
But whatever it is, I salute it. Because everyone else at some point past round 7, normally when fighting Tank,
To make sure that if there wasn't already a plan to defeat Tank, there definitely is one now. Listen, all the talk throughout the years about what you would do against somebody like Tank, your style versus his, was that not the blueprint? I think Lamont showed exactly who he was and what he said he was going to do. He's earning Davis's respect. That counter right backing Davis up. The best fighters are those who can stay calm in a chaotic environment, those who can think clearly and solve problems in the middle of the storm. And the most impressive part of Lamont Roach's performance for me was his patience, not trying to fill those quiet moments with meaningless punches or busy work, letting this place go. Beautiful combinations from Roach, not being forced into throwing and only attacking when it made sense.
You gotta change the script. Make Tank Davis feel that. Make him make mistakes.
It initially seemed like Shakur might be the only fighter with the awareness, the experience, and the courage to fight in such a controlled manner against Tank. I was on timing, especially like in the perfect moments to land beautiful shots. Some of the shots that might have stumbled him or visibly hurt him. But we learned a lot on March 1st. Lamont Roach came not only to fight, but came to become a champion. Having fought back from his own defeat 5 years ago in Fresno, Roach made a promise to himself.
When I actually accepted that loss, for real, I knew I ain't never want to feel like that again.
And it's a night which, paired with a scrape past Hector Luis Garcia, probably made him look just the right amount of beatable.
You are much better than I originally thought that you were, and this is based off maybe the defeat of Jamel Herring and watching that fight. I don't know. But I went into that thinking this was going to be a rinse and repeat Gervonta Davis.
But his dedication to the sport and refusal to quit represents everything good about the sweet science. And now, with his willingness to face anybody and everybody, the best might even be still to come for DC's new superstar. We're at the end of the journey now. Fight's over. Oh, it's far from over. But Davis took away some of the power of the punch, but still Roach took a clean hit. He took a clean hit. You don't want one little decision to change the whole fight. But in sports, sometimes it is one thing that a referee does that determines who wins and loses. As the controversial decision was announced, shock was visible on the faces of both fighters. Draw, after all, nobody likes a draw. This is officially a draw. However, in the aftermath, one fighter was certainly much more thankful than the other.
Yeah, it definitely changed my plans. It definitely changed my plans. I probably got 4 more fights now. For sure.
Rate the performance. Roach won the story. Roach won the story. He didn't get the win, but he won the story.
Those who predicted this outcome correctly have just earned themselves a huge amount of credibility. You know Tank don't want to submit, lay down. We're going to put them down. Overall, you're going to get his ass. The rest are going to have to accept being wrong. And if any of y'all had me getting knocked out tonight, I'm going to go back and look at your pages. I promise you. You threw punches and you landed more punches than Tank. How were you able to do this tonight? And regardless of whether you viewed this as a shock-the-world moment or a televised highway robbery, there are many lessons to be learned.
All about showing who's the best. It's all about good competition, and that's what I'm on. I'm in here trying to prove that I'm the...
Hopefully now, with marks on the records of the two faces of boxing, the undefeated Mayweather model can be replaced to make way for this new golden age of boxing. Yeah, they might as well get me to start my own documentary. I'm young enough. I got a head of story. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the fight, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more boxing analysis. We'll be back with more coverage of all the biggest matches and moments in the sport.